How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another episode. It has been so long since I have done one of these style episodes. We're going to go for about 20 to 30 minutes today. We're going to go over some topics and talk about baseball, talk about the upcoming season, talk a little bit about 2025, talk about arbitrations, guys going into free agency. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, have a lot of different conversations about what's going on, guys. So here we are. How so close, and what a weird and different 2025 season. The Astros were one game away from playing in the wild card against, I think it would have been the Guardians. Yeah, the Tigers. They tied with the Tigers 87-75, their record. And an incredible way the season had gone, right? Their season was filled with a Carlos Correa trade. An incredible pitching staff to an extent, but also like they had like a whole 5-man rotation on the injured list at one time. So that was interesting. You also had Altuve playing left field for the very first time. You had him playing half second base. You had Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker for the very first time. You had a rookie playing a lot of games in right field, in which, if you would have told me last year, when they still had Kyle Tucker, I would have thought you're a little insane. You're gonna have a rookie playing right field for the Houston Astros for a whole season. He started off really well. He had a little bit of pop. His batting average was high. Then what happens to you? The league figures you out a little bit. Then you kind of go down. Jeremy Pena had his slider problem. Whenever he was younger in his sophomore season. Now he's kind of adapted and is hitting well over 300. Jeremy Pena, by the way, had an incredible year this year. By the way, he was hurt for a little bit of time, but he had an incredible year. Congratulations to Jeremy Pena. He had really outperformed himself this year, and I thought he made a big stride. Yainer Diaz, talk about Yainer, he kind of struggled a little bit. I thought the pop could have been there a little bit better. Same with Christian Walker. You never know what you're going to get out of Walker. This whole season, it felt like I remember he hit like 3 games with a homer in a row. They were all on the road. A lot of his success came on the road, not very much at home. You had an incredible, Bryce Matthews story whenever he came up into the big leagues, hit 2 home runs in Arizona. I remember the Astros swept them as well. Framber Valdez, 83 pitch complete game. Josh Hader in the beginning of the year being really well, pitching a lot of innings. He was asking for Jason Alexander. So the team had a little bit of magic, kind of ran out at the end of the season, finishing like 31-40. Very, very bad September and August. August and September. It just didn't end up panning out for the Houston Astros in 2025. But that's how close they were. Yordan Alvarez missed 90 games. You kind of look back at it, right? And you think, if Yordan Alvarez didn't miss 90 games in the middle of the season, or even the final 3 weeks of the season, what do you think this team goes? Like, where? They really, they just were very injured all year, man. 27 players on the injured list. I believe that was the number. But that's a lot of players. That is a lot of players, and that is not going to get you success in the big league. So staying healthy for 2026 is going to be a big thing. Again, everyone, welcome into an episode. I am so glad to be here with you guys tonight. It is Saturday night when I record this. So, all right. So a couple days ago, a lot of Houstonians, a lot of Astros fans are upset with the trade that the Astros acquired Nick Allen for 2-time Gold Glove Utility Award winner Mauricio Dubon, World Series champion in 2022, first Honduran player to ever win a World Series in Major League Baseball, and he was shipped out to the Atlanta Braves for Nick Allen, who is... It's a pure salary dump, guys. You have to understand something. So this is where we're going to go into the next conversation here in just a moment. But Ramon Urias and Mauricio Dubon were set to combine make a total of $10.5 million. And I think Chaz was going to make about $3 million. So you got like $14 million right there that they just kind of cut off the books. They also, Luis Garcia is not coming back. It just doesn't make sense. that one sucked. That really does suck because Luis Garcia just never got healthy at the end of his Astros career. It had so much promise, he pitched in the World Series in 2021. He just never panned out to in Houston as well. So he had another surgery this offseason, so he's going to be out again all season next year, I'm assuming. So they cut his money off the books, and so they kind of dwindled down. They brought back De Los Santos, they brought back Taylor Trammell, all those guys. They're going to go to arbitration with Pena and Hunter Brown, and do that whole 9 yards with Paredes as well. Isaac Paredes, Christian Walker are not being traded according to sources. I saw Chandler Rome put that out there the other day that they're staying packed with Christian Walker, and like I said, we need Christian Walker to hit. Which goes into the next thing. So you cut Mauricio Dubon, essentially. You trade him. You trade him to the Atlanta Braves for nothing. Pure salary dump. They settled on $7 million, I believe, for Mauricio Dubon. Well-deserved. Offensively, he was a little bit of a struggle this year. But at the end of the day, Mauricio Dubon, I said this earlier today. He wasn't going to win your World Series, but he could definitely get you there. Being able to plug in for Jeremy Pena when Jeremy Pena missed 2 months in the middle of the season. He could play any outfield position. He could play any infield position. He plays literally 7 positions. He won the Gold Glove utility back-to-back season. So he was incredible. He's had great plays at all different positions defensively. So I think they're going to miss Mauricio Dubon. I am not too sure what the utility route for the Houston Astros will be this coming season. They have a infield problem in a way because even if they go get a guy like Brendan Donovan, I don't know what that's going to cost, but a lot of reports are the Astros are in on Brendan Donovan. Even if they go get Brendan Donovan, you have Correa at third that's solidified. You have Pena at short. You could put Altuve back at second, and then you just leave Christian Walker. But where does Isaac Paredes play? I know a lot of reports say that he's going to get some time at first base. Second base last year at spring training, I was told that was not pretty. He could try it out. He can do whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, Isaac Paredes is going to play third base, first base, DH, depending on the health of Yordan Alvarez. So let's talk about Jim Crane and Dana Brown spending money. What are they going to do? So you don't go to arbitration with Dubon. You trade him before you even get there. Okay, you're cutting $7 million loosely. What and how much money are you going to spend this offseason? Because in my theory, I think that they're going to just stand pat on what they have. They might go get a Dylan Cease. I don't think they're going to stay anywhere. They need to get a backup catcher. They need a backup catcher now because Carantini's probably going to go sign somewhere else in free agency. So you need a backup catcher. You need some pitching. And you need an outfield bat. Those 3 things are essential to rounding out this roster to make it a little bit better. I'm sorry, we need help everywhere. We got Cam Smith and right. I think Zach Cole's going to be really well this year. You got Jake Myers. Hopefully Yordan Alvarez can play at least 60 games in left field at home, majority of them. And then when you're on the road, kind of DH him a little bit. I mean, we kind of treat Yordan Alvarez like he's 35 years old. But it's kind of one of those things like, his health and I think he's just had a lot of injuries that are just bad luck injuries. So what will the front office do? What will Jim Crane give Dana Brown? What will Dana Brown say? Look, I need this. I want to go get this to do this. There's a lot of free agents out there, especially players that are coming over from Japan. Incredible pitching all over the market. It's not one of the best pitching markets, but you're going to have some guys like Ranger Suarez. You're going to have a Dylan Cease on the market. Dylan Cease, and you're going to have to do this, and Dylan Cease would be a great fit because you're able to fill Framber Valdez's innings. Framber Valdez has been the most consistent everyday starter since 2020. He has pitched the most with Max Fried as well. Both those pitchers have been the most consistent pitchers in Major League Baseball. You're going to have to fill that spot. A lot of reports saying that they're going to save some money and, go get Justin Verlander. It makes sense, 4th or 5th guy, but you also have to be able to insert some mid to high level pitching anywhere in this market. You have to go get somebody. You can't rely on Christian Javier because he was very inconsistent after he came back from Tommy John. This is his first offseason fully healthy, so we'll see what he alludes to in the offseason, coming back into spring training, getting his body right, getting the arm right. You can't bank on it. He was exceptional in certain starts. He had like a no-hitter start until the fifth inning, and then the bullpen did what they did. But Hunter Brown, you can count on as the ace. He's going to give you 15 wins, I believe, this year. I think he's going to step it up in that aspect. But I think it's very crucial that the Astros go out and get a 2 or 3. Got to get a 2 or a 3. Right now, it would probably be Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, Spencer Arrighetti. I am a big advocate for AJ Blueball, and it upsets me that the Astros are kind of putting him in a box and it says on the box, long reliever, bullpen, setup, man. And it's like, I get it, but his role was never consistent this year. But I feel like whenever he slid into those roles as a starter, whenever he had to, he did fine. Yes, and he had a walk problem earlier in the season, and they sent him back down, and he worked on it a little bit, he got better. But you also have to remember, rookie, let him get his arm right. Let him find the strike zone in the big leagues. He had a really solid end of the season. I was very surprised by his swings and misses. I think he kind of helped us get innings where we needed to find innings at the end of the season. Jason Alexander will be back for the Astros next year. He is a guy that he played well. He really did. Jason Alexander was a guy that came in and threw strikes and won games. Where did we find Jason Alexander? I really don't know. We got him from Oakland, from Sacramento, or whatever you call him over there. It's just you have to be able to plug and play, and they did that with Jason Alexander and AJ Blueball, and it goes to show this Astros organization. Next year, Miguel Uola might come up in the big leagues, guys. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to go and spend money for Dylan Cease. I would like for them to kind of test the market. I don't want them to overpay for anybody because I think this market's going to be so expensive. I really do think that this pitching market, the trade market, even Brendan Donovan might be expensive. He's a lifetime 280 hitter with 4 years in the big leagues. So you have 2 years of control. But it's going to cost Bryce Matthews and a major league player, maybe a prospect. It's just because nowadays people are paying so much. Trent Grisham just got $22 million from the New York Yankees. Think about that. It's insane to me. Kind of puts their flexibility away from maybe trying to bring back Cody Bellinger. I know they're trying to stay under the $300 million threshold. The Astros, and the other way, are also trying to stay under the luxury tax. So I think they kind of go for it at the deadline. But you also remember, this roster is a little bit tight right now because you have $17 million on the books for Lance McCullers this season. Lance is there, guys. We love Lance McCullers. I love Lance McCullers personally. Great dude, but it's a hard thing. This is why long contracts don't work. They do, but they don't. And the big part of it is paying them for what they've done. But then when you pay them for too many years, it's can come back to bite you. And I think it's kind of bitten us a little bit with Lance. And but I hope he's successful this coming season. Throw strikes or whatever, but. So we'll see what happens with Lance McCullers coming out this year. So, again, pitching staff, going into spring training with what we have, I don't think I wouldn't be too confident, but I would love to see the Astros go out and get a 2 or a 3, like I just said. So with that being said, go get a 2 or a 3. Let's kind of transition into Altuve, right? Altuve and Correa. So Correa is interesting because it's his first full season back in Houston, obviously getting traded over from the Twins at the deadline. Spent the last 4 months with us, 3 months with us. Deal got done at the last minute, came back, decided to come back to Houston. He never hit a home run at Dyke Park to end the season. He hit his home runs in Boston and Yankee Stadium. And so the outlook on Correa is they got a clubhouse guy back. You're losing Mauricio Dubon, the clubhouse guy, but you still have Correa, you have Altuve, you got, Paredes, you have Hunter Brown, you have a kind of a structure. Luis Garcia's gone, Framber's gone, but Framber was a little bit of a weirdo in the clubhouse apparently. But also hearing Joe Espada say the other day he was a great teammate. So you got to get somebody, and I was having a conversation today with one of my buddies, and they need a clubhouse guy. And a familiar face would be a Martin Maldonado. And I understand he just went into retirement, but if you could bring him in an advisor role, or Alex Cintron, guy that's been there for almost 14 years, is gone as well. So you have to be able to kind of get somebody back in that role who can take over the clubhouse. We've lost guys over the years. This is nothing new. We are not going to sit here and act like we have had this whole run the Astros have had together, that it stayed the same. We got Justin Verlander back twice. We lost George Springer, we lost Correa once, Bregman's gone, we traded Kyle Tucker, clubhouse guy. All these guys that we have molded into our own, and we become obsessed with the player and the person, and Dubon. And so how are you going to replace that this year? I think the Astros have a great culture, but what is that culture going to look like going into this year? And I'm very curious because it felt like the locker room kind of fell apart at the end of the year. Again, we don't know what goes on in the locker room, but it feels like at the end of the year things just kind of dwindle down all the way. We got to find something like that. We got to find a piece that's going to keep the locker room intact, keep the spark there for the boys. And, they're going to figure it out, guys. I'm not worried about the camaraderie in the clubhouse. You still have leaders like Altuve, and you got Jordan in there, and Correa's back for a full season. He'll be at spring training with the guys. And so, at the end of the day, I'm not worried about that, but I hope that it continues in a way and someone kind of steps up in that way. Cam Smith could do that. Zach Cole could do that. And those young guys could be, a fun spark in the clubhouse. Altuve, he had one of the worst statistical years since being an Astros, since his early years in Houston. And I don't think there's a decline coming. I think that this is a lot of people don't realize this, but this is the first offseason in Jose Altuve's career since, I think, 2015. Last year we played 2 playoff games, but you still played October baseball, but they didn't. He has had October, November, December, January, and February. So 5 full months for Altuve, which they're normally playing until the last week of October. So it's an extra month, yes, but then for example, the ramp-up period for baseball players is if you play all the way until the World Series, you're gonna start to ramp up in January, December. These guys are gonna ramp up. They've already started throwing again, working out, getting their bodies right, getting the off-season training and all that stuff. Yainer Diaz posts his stuff all the time on social media. So they don't stop working after they played those deep into the playoffs, but when you win a World Series, you're not going to pick up a baseball for a little bit. You're gonna celebrate with the champagne. That's what you're supposed to do, and you enjoy yourself. But it's going to be interesting to see what the time off for Jose Altuve does, and how successful. If he can get his legs under him again. I know he was banged up there at the end. Jeremy Pena was banged up at the end. The pitching staff. So the health of the team and getting all those guys right. It's it's a longer off season. They don't want that. They want to play deep in October, but for the first time in years that they're going to have that time to themselves, I think could play a little bit of a part. And I think most of you guys would agree with me that it would really help out the guys. So guys like Altuve, he played left field for the very first time this season. Like, his numbers were down. He didn't, Altuve's always going to swing at Altuve balls. He's going to swing at fastballs up here. He's going to swing at crap in the dirt, like changeups and stuff like that. But allowing him to have that time, that extra month, is going to, it could be critical. He's 35 years old. He turns 36 next year. And so that might be able to help him. Helps Jordan. I want to see Altuve, if this is the best scenario, is Altuve plays plays 100 games in the field and DHs 60 games, and Jordan Alvarez plays left field, and we get Brandon Donovan to play second base a majority of the time. Or, you see what I'm saying? Like, you take the workload off of him, because you could tell that he was exhausted this year. I attended 81 Astros games at home and 1 on the road. Altuve looked exhausted. And it started to look like that in August, end of July, August, whenever they started slumping. And I hope I'm wrong, but I hope I'm right, but I think he's going to have a really big season this year. I think, George Springer last year was not good. He wasn't the normal George Springer. But what did he do this year? He had 30 homers, an incredible playoff run. He was banged up in the World Series, still was incredible. So, like I said, but what did he do? He DHs. You have guys that play left field and center field, and his normal center field, and he would play right field for the Blue Jays in the season. So things like that, we will kind of monitor with Altuve, and hopefully that his production kind of comes back and raises his batting average, maybe like 280. I'll take 280, 290. I know that's very, very low for Altuve lifetime, because he's like a lifetime 300 hitter. We'll go into the Hall of Fame as the Houston Astros first ballot, in my humble opinion. But thinking about the player, Altuve, he's going to come back and have an amazing season next year. A bounce back year from a year that wasn't horrible, but that just wasn't a Jose Altuve season. And so, Joe Espada, I'll leave it with that. But Joe Espada said at the winter meetings that Pena and Altuve are healthy. So, because remember, Jeremy Pena missed the last week of the season with that, I think it was an ankle, something like that. But anyways, both of those guys fully healthy. Hopefully they have an amazing offseason and get back to business when spring training rolls around in March. So, with that being said, let's talk about what were we going to go into. We were going to go into something. Oh, let's talk about our division, expectations for next year. Whatever way the roster is constructed, the expectation is to have a World Series. And that's the expectation in Houston Astros. Like Jim Crane has stated it, the window will never close under my vision. I'm kind of wording it differently, but the window will never close as long as he's here. Seattle, incredible run, man. Kyle Raleigh, they went and got Josh Naylor. They just extended Josh Naylor 5 years, $80 million. They got a nice little locker room over there. A lot of people have been waiting for the Mariners to do that. When they signed Julio Rodriguez back in 2022 to that extension, you kind of expected the Mariners to come up. They in 2022 they played us pretty well in that division series. They took us to 3 games in one 18-inning game, and that's how we had to win it. Jeremy Pena, that pitching staff was just incredible that year. It was the best pitching staff of the last decade in the postseason. The Dodgers had one that was incredible, but our ERAs, pitching-wise, bullpen-wise, was just exceptional. Nothing compares to it, statistically. And so they got caught up there, and then the Texas Rangers won in 2023. Whether you want to call it a fluke or not, they were incredible. They got hot at the right time. Adolis Garcia, who was non-tendered. Jonah Heim, who was non-tendered by the Texas Rangers. The division looks a little open I would still say the Mariners might be favored. Like I was saying on my TikTok live earlier today, I was with H-Town Wheelhouse live this morning, and he said, like, we were talking about it, like, the Mariners are going to be favored. Like, everyone's going to favor them. Like, don't be surprised. Like, MLB Network come around in February. Everyone's like, Mariners are going to win the division. Like, that's the way it's going to be. And so, expecting that, expect that Astros fans. Like, that's what's going to happen. The Mariners are going to be the favorite to win the division. They're going to be, but that's for the first time in like a decade. Like, we are so used, and like at the end of our run, at the end of, like, not the end of our run, but like towards the end of what we've been doing as an organization, there's been like analysts, Texas Rangers, they're gonna win the division this year. The Mariners are gonna win the division this year. It just never really happened, and so I think that they have a more of a realistic way to say, okay, the Mariners are going to win the division. Rightfully so. Better roster construction as of right now. I think their front office went for it for the first time in a long time. It started with Julio Rodriguez getting that extension a couple years ago, getting Eugenio Suarez, re-signing Josh Naylor. Brian Wu coming into fruition this year was absolutely incredible all season long. I think it was the most consistent pitcher because of the most quality starts that he had, and like pitching into the 6th inning the most. I think he had like a big 20-something game consecutive streak of pitching like into like the 6th inning. So, and the Angels are going to be scrappy. They're going to beat some AL West teams. The Sacramento A's are coming, guys. The Sacramento A's are a team. Nick Kurtz, those boys over there, Tyler Soderstrom, all those guys, like, I'm telling you, they're coming. So just be ready for the A's. I think that they're young enough that they're going to win more games. I think they're going to win like 10 more, 15 more games. 10 more games would be realistic. 15 might be more of a stretch, but they win 10 more games this year. It's going to be a big fight, guys, for the AL West, and I think it's, the AL West has been when the Astros were dominating the West for so many years, up until, I guess, this year, they had a lot of success, and it was a lot easier to win the division, So with that being said, like, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but like the Rangers are going to be scrappy. The Angels are going to be scrappy. The A's are going to be fun. The Mariners are going to be very competitive and try to go. They're one win away from the World Series. They're going to try to reciprocate that. I don't know if Cal Raleigh is going to be able to do what he did last year, but I highly doubt it. My friend H-Town Wheelhouse said it on live today. I think Mariners fans would love it if he hit 25 home runs and hit 280. He hit like 230 and hit 60 homers. He got MVP votes. So like if he hits like 40 homers, like they'll take it, from a catcher. Hell yeah, I'm taking that from Yainer Diaz. Are you kidding me? So with that being said, don't be surprised, guys. Mariners to be favored to win the division next year. The Astros got to make some pitching moves. They got to make some defensive constructions in the outfield, or like hitting constructions. Like, I don't think our defense is the issue. Our defense is fine. Our pitching staff is a little bit of a problem. We don't know what we're getting. Hitting wise, we don't know what we're getting. And defensively, we should be fine. But we just also lost a utility guy, so you got to fill that in. Guys, last thing I do want to talk about is, before I get off of here, is going to be what incredible playoff and World Series that we were so blessed to watch. I think the last 2 years I have really kind of embraced and sat back and watched the postseason with more of like, I'm so grateful that my Astros are so good. And they won so many, 4 pennants, 2 World Series, bunch of 8 division titles, like went to the ALCS like 8 years in a row, whatever it was. So like looking at the Blue Jays kind of do that for the first time in 33 years, I think it was, getting to the World Series. Game 7 was incredible, 18 innings. I stayed up for that game. Yamamoto, 3 wins in the World Series. Clayton Kershaw getting an out in like the 16th inning that was crucial for them to win that game. Freddie Freeman walk off in the 18th. Mookie Betts struggling literally the whole postseason, then comes through game 6 to save like the season for the Dodgers. It was just a fun all-around World Series. The Blue Jays had an incredible run with guys like Dalton Varsho and like Nathan Lucas and like Ernie Clement. Not Dalton Varsho, but like George Springer and Vladdy and Bo Bichette coming back in the World Series. And so the way that these teams manage, they let their players play. I feel like they left the analytics at the door. Like, yes, you got to have work matchups and stuff. Shohei Ohtani was incredible in the World Series. So baseball's in a good spot, guys. I think that with the direction of the way the pairs get played these days, the talent is the best that we've had in so many years, and I'm so blessed to be able to cover the game of baseball. I am going to have so many more episodes for you guys in the near future because I love doing this. I will be definitely clipping some of these and posting them on TikTok, but I think I'm going to post this one on YouTube, do some Instagram reels with it. But I'm so blessed, guys. Y'all have been so amazing to me this year with just being able to cover the Astros and be at all their games, hang out with so many great people, a lot of amazing friends, a lot of amazing fans, the Astros and baseball fans all across the world. I'm so excited for the WBC to come here into Houston. So baseball's in a good spot, guys. The Dodgers won a World Series. They're going to try to three-peat. That's going to be fun to try to take down across Major League Baseball. It's going to be a fun season, guys, and I can't wait to continue to cover this offseason with you guys. So with that being said, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. It was a fun time. I had a fun conversation with y'all. I hope to be coming on here more often with y'all. All right, guys. See y'all later. Love y'all.